And she's going to talk to us about Maxient and how to actually like report all the things that you might come across in Maxient.
I told, I'm so happy to be here, by the way, and even happier than normal because I'm just going to share for a sec a personal piece. I am a breast cancer survivor, and I just yesterday was in for a very worrisome brain scan, which came out so clear. Dressed this morning, and I realized that I'm pretty sure I wore this exact same outfit last year. Did I?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And I have other clothes, first of all. Secondly, I've maybe worn this like twice since, so it's hilarious that I remember that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure I wore this last year this time. Anyway, that's enough at the beginning stuff. We'll get down to business because I have less than an hour now at this point. So some of this, if you're a returner, is going to be similar to what we've done in the past, but I'm also going to turn to you as returners for offering tips and tricks for some of the new people, because I know there's some things that are a little nerve-wracking about your job, and this is one of those things, like documenting and will I do it right, and will I do a good enough job, and all those kinds of things. And it's really important work, so thank you for that. So I'm going to start, excuse me, and have you take out a piece of scratch paper. Not like a little teeny Post-it. You'll need more space than that. So just like a piece of paper or whatever. Share around if you would.
Board. Oh, yeah.
Depends how many left. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and I'm going to time you for 3 minutes. What I want you to do is I want you to write down how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay? I want you to write down all the steps that it takes. And you can do a paragraph form, you can do a bullet form, however you want to do it. Write down how you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay? Go. For somebody who's never done it before. Okay? So we need a lot of info here. Somebody who doesn't know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Thank you. Halfway. And it's not a race. If you don't get through it, that's okay. Get as far as you can. We got about 30 seconds left. All right, go ahead and finish up. Okay, time is up. So now turn to one or two people right next to you. Review what you wrote. See maybe if there's things that you missed. If the other person remembered a significant piece that you forgot. Kind of test out your thing, and I'll give you 3 minutes-ish to do that.
Make that sandwich.
The other knife, jelly jar, use that knife to spread the jelly on one face of the slice of bread, on the other slice of bread.
Okay, go ahead.
And then after you finish, place the knives down and place the peanut butter side of the bread on top of the jelly.
So basically, documenting incidents are kind of like you're telling your area coordinators how to do something and they have no idea how to do it, right? You have to be really detailed. You have to tell them everything. Did you guys come up with some like major misses in your descriptions about where you might find bread or how many pieces of bread you use or if you would put the jelly pea side out versus in or etc.? Yeah. She forgot about jelly. What about anybody else have like a less significant miss?
Oh, so you have to remember to put the knife balance on the sink in case you want to make another?
That's so true.
I appreciate that, yes.
You use like ketchup instead of.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Hey, that's interesting.
I forgot to close the fridge after I got the bread out.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I avoided that one.
Oh, okay, I bet everybody maybe forgot that. She said, I forgot to purchase the ingredients. Oh, do you remember?
See, I just said locate and collect.
Okay, yes, yeah, sure. Awesome. All right, so that's just a little bit of a warm-up for you, a little bit of an exercise to kind of get you in the right frame of mind here, all right? Okay, so let me start, or I guess I started like 10 minutes ago. So let me say thank you early on here for this work that you're going to be doing. I do this training because I'm the primary conduct coordinator on campus. So I am the overseer of the conduct system. Thank you for for this difficult but important work that you're going to do in enforcement and in, of course, documenting incidents. For some of you, it's your least favorite part of your job. Most of you, I'm guessing, did not choose to be CFs so that you could enforce policy for people. You want to build a community, you want to do that. But guess what? Enforcing policy does build community. Enforcing policy does realize all of those positive things that you want in part of your floor, your section, your hall, whatever. No building is immune. So those of you who are in the views, and who are in Southwest, who are in other buildings, and you think, oh, I'm not going to have a whole lot, 27% of our alleged students last year were seniors. Okay, so you are going to also be documenting incidents. Don't go, oh, I can kind of half listen because I probably won't have anything to write till November. Not true. And you might even disagree with some of our policies. Sorry. Too bad. You have to enforce those policies anyway. And if you have questions or really struggle with something, talk to your AC, talk to me. We'll help explain to you why Gustavus thinks it's important that that policy exists in that way. All right, why is enforcement important? Because that makes sense, right? Toward a positive community. A conduct case is an opportunity for intervention, and that is really, really important. We often find students through the conduct process that are self-medicating for lots of things, and it is a way that they get in our support pipeline. And if they're not in our support pipeline, they're using substances or acting out or doing other things and trying to deal with problems on their own when we have way better resources that can help them in way better ways and help them build positive habits for their future. Students are vulnerable during that time, and that's good because that's an opportunity for behavior change. And habits that they are beginning now can have far long-term things. Habits that students set up now can carry with them, and some of those can be really hard to break. It's about student learning and development. That's why I do this work. People go like, why on earth would you want to do this? Why would you want to do conduct for half of your job? And it's because I see student learning and development happen every day when we have this, and our ACs and conference get to have developmental conversations with students about their behaviors. So it's actually a good thing. And enforcement is important because it's effective, and I'll tell you specifically why that is. Oh, good, you can read that. So there's a place called NIAAA, National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. And this is about alcohol, but it translates to other things as well. So they help address harmful drinking habits on college campuses, right? And they look at all these different interventions. There's like 60 different interventions. And they rate them for effectiveness. So, you can imagine this is a whole huge thing. How do we stop harmful drinking on college campuses? What works? What doesn't work? There's 60 things that they've evaluated. And of those 60 things, and you can see they have all these numbers here and everything, and the highlighting's off. The highlighting should be down here on this. But enforce the age 21 drinking age is one of only 13 that get 3 sort of stars for effectiveness. And so it is effective. Enforcement is effective in stopping behavior. And that's another reason why we need your help in enforcing and in documenting. Also because when you don't enforce policy, well, okay, let me go back a second. Think of yourself as a first-year student before you were a CF and your first-year residence hall environment. Were there things that happened as a result of students' behavior, particularly policy violations, that affected you? Okay, give me an example.
Orientation weekend, I was walking back to my dorm room and I ran into some people who were very intoxicated.
Yep.
And as a result of that, for the entirety of the first semester, I locked my door every time I was inside of my dorm room because I didn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm. That's a great example. Yeah.
Before the end of the first semester, there was an improper room shift with my old roommate and another person's roommate, and because they didn't go through the proper channels, and the res lab didn't know who made the switch, they almost hit me with that line also.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go and plead my case that I didn't know that they I knew that everyone wanted to, but I
Right.
didn't know that they were gonna do it at
Right.
the time when I was talking to the proper people.
You didn't have a part in it
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Like the weekend that I finally moved into my dorm freshman year, with soccer and stuff, somebody had like walked into my room and I could tell that they were intoxicated. And I was like, can I help you? And they're like, oh yeah, this is my friend's room. I'm like, oh, it's my room, if you're lost. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. So I'm like, yeah, well, I locked my door.
Yeah,
after that.
concerns about your security, again. Is there anybody else have an answer?
I remember my first year, there was this one girl and she had like stopped by my room for like 2 minutes and like randomly asked me a question about something. And then she had gone off, because that was like in the afternoon. And then she had gone off later that night and gotten intoxicated and then driven her car and gotten in an accident in the parking lot. And so then campus safety was called, and then her in her like drunken stupor was like, something, Maddie, blah, blah, blah. And so then I got confronted at like 2:45 in the morning in my pajamas, like,
Yep.
what the heck is happening? Like, what is going on? Why am I involved in this?
How many of you lost sleep due to activities in your dorm room because people had broken policy? Yep, your sleep was interrupted. Some of you talked about not feeling secure in your space because of that. How many of you, your bathroom habits were interrupted because of somebody being in there, or vandalism in there, or a mess that didn't get cleaned up because of people that were sick or other things? So, you can see what I'm getting at, right? Your enforcement of policy contributes to this positive community where our students can sleep, our students can feel secure, our students can go use the bathroom whenever they want to, and feel like it's going to be clean and there's not going to be somebody in there they have to be worried about. So those are, just some more reasons. And then there's consequences for these students. We lose students. Not lose students. We have students that have to leave Gustavus. Because of habits and behaviors and things. And if we can catch it early, then we can hopefully stop that from happening.
What is the U of M?
Go ahead.
It's a reference.
Okay. When students go meet with an area coordinator, which is what most of them would do after you wrote up an incident and they had a policy violation, we have 4 outcomes that we assess for those hearings. So I just want you to know like what our goals are for when they meet with those, your bosses, your area coordinators. One is, as a result of my conduct hearing, I know more about college policy. That seems important. As a result of my conduct hearing, I more fully recognize the purpose of community standards in a college environment. That seems like a good thing, right? A good thing, especially for someone that is leaving their home environment and moving to more of a community standard-based environment, that they would understand their role in that. Third, as a result of my conduct hearing, I more fully recognize the impact of my behavior beyond myself, especially young students. I don't really think anyone else was affected. That was just my choice. I did that, and I don't really understand. Mandy was nodding because she sat in quite a few of those hearings. And then they work hard to help understand how, at the very least, the CF who documented the incident was affected by your behavior, and there were likely a number of other ripples, and how do you see that your behavior does impact others. And fourth, as a result of my conduct hearing, I feel more committed to following college policy in the future. And actually last year was the first time we were assessing these 4 outcomes, and that one was one of our highest ones, which I'm really happy to see. We do not have a very high recidivism rate. So that's fantastic. It means you guys are documenting things, they're having these great developmental hearings with their AC or a Res Life staff member, and then they're hopefully changing behavior, hopefully just not being smarter about not getting caught, although I'm sure that happens a little bit. Okay. So, enough context. Let's get to it. Now, you have a manual, right? No. Not a binder, but a manual? No manual, no paper.
They have a quick guide. They have some papers,
It's called the quick guide.
Yes.
That's the language. Thank you. So in your quick guide, I think it's page 19. It's a manual.
That's our manual. Page 7.
Thank you. 17. And that's where it starts incident reports?
Yes.
Yes.
Incident reports starting on 17. Okay, perfect. So, fundamentals of incident reporting. And there are 7, I hope, listed there, right? Under fundamentals of incident reporting.
Have like a quick.
Ours is much different than yours.
Perfect, great. And we're gonna go through the 7 things, okay? Number 1, reference the time and date, okay? And this will be, you have this written somewhere. You have this written online, so you don't have to take every note here that I'm writing, okay? But we need a time and a date. And be careful, because if you are after midnight, you'll still think it's Friday night, but it's not really Friday night, it's actually Saturday morning, so make that commitment. Okay. You'll want to log when the situation begins, and you'll want to log when you're done interacting with the situation. So beginning and end of the situation. So that's number 1. Number 2, take notes while confronting. You're going to want to take notes. I don't think anybody has that good of a memory, okay? And there will be specific information. Oftentimes there'll be more than one of you. That's great. One of you can be dealing, interacting, while the other one's taking notes. Once in a while you'll have more than one of you getting to take notes. That's great, because you can compare notes afterwards then and see, again, kind of like the PJ thing, what you might have missed, right? You're going to need to gather ID information from students. You're going to need to gather the number of people. Significant statements. You're going to want to write down verbatim if there are significant things that people say, like if people admit to smoking marijuana. You're going to want to write down what they said, because they could later deny to Abby that they said that they were smoking marijuana, and then Abby's able to say, you know, my report says you said, and I quote, boom. Number 3, collect all identifying information. So name, room, ID number. I'll show you a great tool that's going to help you do that more quickly in Maxient. If you have a non-student, we still need you to get their name for us. And Campus Safety will be helping you with that too if they're there. If they're not, then you're going to need to grab that for sure. If you think something's fishy, you're going to want to verify that identifying information. Once in a while, students are not honest. 4, this is an important one. Report facts, not opinions. So this is a perfect example of how you report facts, not opinions. Instead of saying, John was drunk, because that's your opinion really, that's subjective, right? We don't know, there's no absolute measure to say who's drunk and who's not. Say something like, John had bloodshot eyes and his speech was slurred. That's factual observations you've made as you're writing it, and not a subjective judgment that you've made about John's condition. And a good way to kind of think about that or remember that is use your 5 senses. And how can you report what you're getting through your 5 senses, right? You're smelling something on somebody in the room, on somebody's breath, whatever. You're noticing or observing behavior. What's that?
Don't taste anything.
Okay, fair. Okay, good. Yes, fair. Thank you. And remember, other people are going to read these reports, so be professional when you write them, right? At the very least, I'm going to read it. It goes. Every report you write goes to like 8 people, including every member of the dean's staff, and pretty much your area coordinator, and then director of Res Life, 2 assistant directors of Res Life. It might ultimately, the student has access to be able to view it later if they want to, the student themselves. Their parents may end up seeing it. In a huge case, lawyers may end up reading your report and may end up going that far. So just be thinking about that as you write things. You would want to be able to defend anything you were writing down. Yeah?
In a situation where there's 2 CFs that come upon an incident,
Yep.
do you file it as 2 people or do you do separate reports?
Just one person files it for the report. Yep.
Yep.
You would write it together, but it's under one person's name.
Yep. 5, be detailed and clear. You can use paragraph breaks, can't you, in Maxient?
We like it.
Please do.
Please do that.
So don't just do a huge, long run-on thing, right? Use paragraphs, write it so it's a little bit more readable for these folks. Yeah.
Feel free to write it in Word, spell check it, and then copy it into Maxient.
Yes. But if you do that, don't make sure that it leaves your computer or wherever you wrote it in Word. Make sure it does not stay in that place because we need it to go away. We need it to only be held in Maxient. Same goes for notes you took or whatever. Shred them. Are there shredders in the?
Got one in the office.
Okay, there's shredders in the office, and it's there. Hang on just a second. I'm gonna have you hold questions or thoughts because I'm gonna ask for some tips and tricks in a second here. Okay? No, that's okay. You want your report to be detailed, but it doesn't have to. I mean, it doesn't have to be 4 pages long. Okay? So I'll show you some good examples here in a second. Write in the third person. So when you're talking about yourself, don't say I. Say CF Johnson, CF Wynn, whatever. And the first time you name yourself, introduce yourself. So example, Megan Rubel, second floor, sorry CF, came upon this incident in whatever. And then CF Rubel, CF Rubel, CF Rubel, CF Rubel. And use proper nouns, limit pronouns, because when you get a long report especially, and then you have he and she and he and she and they, like it's hard for somebody reading it to go, which person are they talking about there? I don't know if it's that person or if it's that person, and then they have to go back to you to get more information about now. You said he, but which person are you talking about that said that quote or whatever? ACs, what makes reports easy to read and act on, and what do you have to go back to CFs on sometimes?
I teach my CFs, and I think we used to always teach our CF. You introduce yourself, and then from that point on, when you're talking about people, you use their last names, because we have many Katies, and we have many Laurens, and we have many Freds, and I just made up names. But you'll also see that campus safety writes reports the same way. So you'll say CF Alyssa Paulson, and then from then on, they're just Paulsons.
Or CF.
Or CF.
Paulson.
Right. And it doesn't, for me, it's not crucial if it's first or last name. And you'll see actual sample reports that have first names in them, and that's okay too. But if you have more than one of the same first name, you have to make sure that you delineate.
Like Abby said, paragraph breaks are helpful. Using like time stamps. So at 12:05, CF Larson knocked on the door. At 12:07, CF Larson did XYZ, so that we understand the flow of it. We don't need, like, you're not writing us a storybook. Like, we don't need flowery language or like something super creative, because that makes the story, like, that makes what actually happened more convoluted. So we just want facts, kind of boring things.
Okay, how about returners as you're thinking about? I'll take just like 2 minutes here and take things from returners that you think about as your, what are some tips and some tricks that you maybe learned the hard way or that you remember for sure?
So if you have a duty partner, the easiest way that I have found is whoever takes the lead types it up, because you're going to have the strongest memory of it, and then whoever took notes, like relays information, like gives you all the facts and stuff, so it gives you the times and the names and the numbers to type in, just because it seems to go faster that way. That's what we did, at least in Flex last year. It seemed to help. If you're alone, like, it's not the same, but if you, yeah.
And when do you do it?
Right after.
As soon as
As
possible.
soon
Yeah,
as
just as soon
possible
as you get
after.
back
Like
to
once in a while you'll have a couple incidents in a row you won't be able to, but for the most part, when it's the freshest in your mind, as soon as you can do it, go and do it. But for sure before you get off the rounds that night, right? Yes. Okay, yes.
I think also when you're taking notes, it's helpful with the primary. If they see something, you can tell the secondary, like write this down in case they missed it, because then like you're both sort of taking notes, even though they're the one writing it down.
Yeah.
A couple things, and you touched on the pronouns thing, but like when in doubt, don't be afraid to sound silly with like,
Yeah.
Mandy Ray went to this place, and then Mandy Ray went blah blah blah. You know, like
Yeah.
just say it over and over, because then it's going to be more clear ultimately, and it sounds silly sometimes, but it's worth it. And then secondarily, oh yeah, avoid distractions when you're writing a maxient. It's really like it's like a lot of the time it's late at night, and it's really easy to like be like, okay, well I want to like play this music or like whatever. You shouldn't play music late at night anyway, but like, you know, find something to kind of like keep you awake. But like that you have to be careful with too, because it's very easy to get like, you start to forget things the more distractions that you have. So try and find like a quiet environment, not really talk to people, and just like focus on getting everything down.
Yes.
For those of us who don't have duty partners in our buildings, you're kind of doing the primary and secondary, you're recording while you're being that primary person, having that dialogue. And don't be afraid to like tell, like if you're going through an incident with residents, say, hang on, I'm going to record this down or something like that. And if they're like, why are you recording this, or why are you writing down what I'm saying, mark that down and just let them know it's my duty, it's my job to record what's going on in the incident. I'm recording this, it's ultimately for your benefit that they know what's going on so the full picture is there, so a more accurate judgment can be made. And don't be afraid to just record stuff down, use timestamps as much as possible, because that will make writing your maxing super easy, because you could be like, at 12:05 I knocked on the door, at 12:15 I took their IDs, and I recorded it down. This person didn't have it, so I looked it up on THD. At like 12:30, campus safety showed up and did their thing. At 12:45, I left the room to go write the accident. So like keeping those timestamps, it will give a good idea, like a frame of reference. And those are things that are super helpful when determining things.
Perfect.
It's very important to write legibly if you are physically writing, because if you can't read what you wrote, then you're in trouble. Because if you don't, you may think, I think that's what it says, but if you can't be certain of what it is, then it's not helpful.
Right.
So either write legibly, or if you have to use like notes on your phone or something and then get rid of it afterwards, make sure that you know what you are writing so that you can properly use it.
And there's a notepad in the duty materials, right? But you guys are okay with them using their phones to record, as long as,
Yeah, if
not
they're not
record,
on duty.
to, write down their
Yeah, if
notes.
they're not on duty, then they
Okay.
only have their phone.
Right, okay, yeah.
I know it's helpful in the past when I've run into instances and have a duty, like, try to record, especially because late at night, if you have a duty office and you go into the office to read, you know, sometimes it's hard to write and you just like want to like go back to bed and what you were doing, just like go down there and like get it done, maybe have like more focus.
Right, totally. Yeah.
Just another note. Sometimes you might, deal with an incident and then, it might be really late. You want to go to bed. It's really important to get this report kind of on paper, or rather on Maxio, within like a 24 to like 36 hour period. The sooner you get it like in there, the more accurate it will be. The better the information will be. The longer you wait, the longer you put it off, the worse the information will be. It kind of ruins the whole process a little bit more and more.
Your AC needs to see it by the next morning.
Yeah, you need to
basically.
do it immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay, two more, we'll do, did you have?
Yeah, if you use quotations, you gotta make sure that it's exact quote. It
Yes.
can't be like
Good point.
paraphrased or made up.
Right, yeah, if you're using
Quotations,
quotes, make sure it's an
yeah.
exact quote. Yep.
Exactly.
And there'll be times where campus safety's with you, and you can compare notes with campus safety before you write up an incident too. And, did you get that too? Did I hear that right? Whatever, so don't worry about that. All right, Laura.
Make sure while you're writing the incident report that you're using paragraph format, because it keeps it organized for the ACs and also keeps all of your stuff in check. Oh my gosh,
No,
that's like
sorry,
the
I just had another thought.
Yeah, it helps you keep your train of thought a little bit.
One massive.
We talked about maybe like typing it up in Word. I know a lot of times CFs will, they've written their whole thing in the Maxient form, and then something happens and their window closes, and you can't get that back. So I think returners can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a lot of times a strategy that you all will use. But then obviously not saving that on your computer. Maybe don't do it in a Google Doc unless you're gonna delete that afterwards. Because it really sucks if you just finish your detailed report and then somehow you lose it.
There are sample incident reports in your online manual. 3 of them, these are just 2 of them. So here's a quick one on noise. You can see date and time right away. You can see how the person identifies themselves, and then full names and how they re-identify people, how they kind of timestamp a couple different times throughout, and then how they kind of close the report. So that's one, and you can look, if you don't get it all read right now, that's totally fine, because it's in your online manual. And then here's a marijuana one, same kind of idea, how how it opens, how it identifies people, who's there, what kind of things are observed and written down, again with the 5 senses. Marijuana's tricky. We really need your 4 senses about marijuana, because that is one where people get in with their area coordinator and say, no, I was not using marijuana. No, I was not. So the more detail you can put in marijuana, the better, because we don't have a PBT, right? We don't have something that says, yeah, you can't really deny using this substance. So marijuana is really tricky one. You have to be so observant and documenting everything as well as you can. So we're going to give you a chance to exercise your incident documentation skills. And I'm going to hand my computer over to Melissa to bring this up, or plug in your own, whatever. So get out some paper, get out a writing instrument. You're going to see
You don't want to
that this incident takes place on campus. This incident takes place in Norelius 407C, but you need to record it as if it's happening in your building, because you are going to take your notes and you are going to fill out a Maxine report. And we need that Maxine report to be in your own building, because then it's going to get routed appropriately to your area coordinator.
Don't stop, make it pop, DJ blow your speakers up tonight. I'ma fight till we see the sunlight. Okay, come on guys, get stuff ready. Hello? Hi.
Hey, can you meet me in section 4A? I need backup for a room. CF on duty. Yeah? CF on duty. Hi, can I have you open your door, please? Yeah. And can you please turn the music down? It's past quiet hours.
Can you turn on the music, guys? Turn it down. The button on the thing you push down. It's a minus sign, you push it down. Sorry.
Hi. Can you open the door all the way, please? Hi, how's it going?
Good. Good. We're good. Yeah, we're good.
Alright, so we're here to remind you that it's quiet hours because it is past 12.
And yeah, we'll be quiet.
And because this is an underage room, we say that you have shot glasses on your table.
Yeah, they're not full though, they're empty. There's just,
for decoration.
my grandma gave me them,
So
so
we're
they're
just
cool.
gonna call campus safety.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm gonna need you all to put all your alcohol items in the middle of the room. So the Svedka bottle over there and the 2 shot glasses. And can I get all your IDs, please? Alright. Thank you. Habiba, can you write these down, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
You know, I actually wasn't even drinking, so I'm just gonna leave.
Actually, campus safety is here, so we're gonna have to.
Why'd you call on?
Hello, ladies. How's it going tonight? I'm Todd Stout with Campus Safety. Well, I see there's alcohol in the middle of the room, and I'm assuming you're underage.
Not that much.
It's not that much?
Yeah.
Well, at Gustavus and Minnesota, it's 0 tolerance for underage. And so
Whatever.
Gustavus policy is that we'll have to PBT everybody because they need to make sure that you guys are safe. Okay? All right. Is this all the alcohol that's in the room?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to ask you to open up your refrigerator. Okay. It's clear. Okay. So what's your name?
Charlie Potts.
Charlie? Okay. Just take a deep breath and blow. Blow hard. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Thank you. 0.18. Okay, so I'm going to need to step out in the hallway and clear the machine because the air in here is pretty thick.
Next representative, can you
Take a deep breath and blow on the machine. Good, thank you. 0.135. And what's your name?
Gus.
Gus? What have you had to drink tonight?
You know, like a few shots.
A few shots of
Vodka.
vodka. And take a deep breath and blow. Thank you. All right. 0.175. So Yang is going to watch you guys pour the alcohol down the drain in the restroom.
I can't believe we pour this all out. This is so dumb. Oh my god, how drunk are you?
You guys put the empty bottles in the recycling, please. Charlie and Gus, you're at a level of the campus safety considers you a health risk. So you will need to come down to the campus safety office. Your friend here, and what's your name again?
Beyonce.
Beyonce, you can come along down with them if you want, or you can go back to your room.
Alright, so Beyonce, and then Gus,
Thank you.
and Charlie, here you are. And you can follow campus safety.
Yep, we'll go to the office, and I'm assuming you're coming down as a friend?
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to do that. We'll go this way.
Hey Javi, we're gonna have to ask you to step out. We're gonna have to type up a report, so.
Alright,
Yeah,
sounds good, that's cool. Alright, later.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Javi.
So we just need to compare notes and make sure that we have the correct information for the incident. Do you guys have any questions or concerns about how the incident went?
No, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, yep.
All right. Thank you guys for all your help. That was excellent work. Good job.
Alright, thank you so much.
Have a good
Officer
night,
Chow.
Officer.
You bet.
Alright, so I'll type up what we have on here.
Alright.
And can you just read through it again and check if everything's accurate?
Yes, sure. I'll do that.
Alright, thank you.
You're like, I'm Todd. You forgot you were Todd for a second. I get it.
Hey Charlie, how's it going?
Oh, good. Just chilling. I'm sorry. I know drinking's illegal. We shouldn't have been doing that and stuff. It's a bummer we got caught and everything, but sorry. And I know you're just doing your job, so.
Yeah, and I just want to let you know that, you can start drinking when you're 21 and drink responsibly. But hopefully, now it's, a lesson learned, but.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, you will not catch me again. I won't drink again, before I'm 21. Yeah,
mean, you could have picked up some
Like when you saw our names or something comments or starting it off with
Wow, I'm the drunk tank.
Okay, wrap up your don't take another 30 seconds or so.
You know you're writing short.
What I just passed out are last year's conduct statistics, just because I think they're interesting to look at and see, but I don't want you to look at them right now. That's always the danger of passing them out, right? Is that then like you want to look at them. We have like 5 more minutes left in what I want to walk you through in terms of Maxient, and then you can have it, and I'm sure you get a break, and you can look at it whenever you want to. So Maxient, that's our software, we keep referring to it, that keeps all of our conduct cases. It's pretty fantastic in almost every way. You would access this through your Moodle page, through the CF Moodle page, so that's where you're going to go first of all. And then this is going to come up for you. And so you saw on the video, super quick, fast motion of people entering information, right? But you need to enter your information here, right? You can see that you're currently authenticated as your person when you're logged in. Just double check. You want to be logged in under your name for that, okay? Then you're going to fill in your information. We're going to have each of you write up a practice test report from this incident here. And when is it going to be due by?
Tonight at 8 p.m.
Tonight at 8 p.m. So, a couple pieces of info for that. One, you need to, under nature of this report, you need to select training report. Did everybody hear that? Yeah. Pull down training report. Okay, that's going to help us distinguish and route so that the whole dean's office isn't seeing 60 reports and then maybe there actually is one real report and we're ignoring them all because we think they're all test reports. That did happen a couple years back. And so, training report is very important because that's going to help us, okay? And then, date of incident, please select today.
But any other time you submit a report, you should submit general incident report.
Well, we're going to take the training report off as an option after about 48 hours here. So, then you won't even have to worry about that. It will just automatically be what you need it to be. But just for our training, please take the training report. Date of incident, what should you write?
Today.
Today is date of incident. Thank you. Because again, then all of these things stay in Maxient, and then it allows us to kind of keep track of what that is. So you'll get a calendar picker come up most of the time, and that makes it very convenient for you. So today is the 23rd, right? And then you've got a time, you wrote that down, you've got a location, and what do you need to remember about location?
Your own
home.
Question.
Yes.
Should we include the room number at all? Because, okay, because last year I got in trouble for writing 407A in Pittman Hall.
Oh.
Because he was like, there is no 407A.
Oh.
I was like, I know.
You can write 407A.
Yeah, we're all okay with it.
Okay.
Okay, so your location of incident is going to be your hall. That's a pull down again. Okay. Boom, right there. And then where Maddie's talking about is specific location. That's where you put a room number, and you can put 407A in your buildings. That would be great. Okay. So you saw quickly on there how they were quick typing Gus the Lion, Queen Beyonce, Charlie Potts, etc. Here's this beautiful, beautiful feature called People Finder. that allows you to get all the information auto-populated in there from the system, just barely a little bit of information. So let's say that you want to look up, Jacob, I'm gonna put you on there, okay? Did I do that right?
Larson.
Close.
We have a Jacob Pasley? I don't know why.
Yeah, Jacob Pasley goes here. Now it's, yeah.
Huh. I've heard his name before. No, probably for good reason. People always say to me, like, when they hear I work at Gustavus, they're always like, oh my gosh, my niece goes to Gustavus. Her name is blah, blah, blah. And then I usually say, you know, it's actually probably for the best if I don't know your niece's name. I usually end up working with students either in crisis or in trouble. So that's a good thing if I don't know who they are. Oh, I lost you. Whatever. So, let's say you're not positive of everything. Maybe you wrote the ID number wrong. You don't really know. Boom! You just had to search by his name. It even shows you his photo there so you can look. You can make sure this is right. This is important, right? We have like 4 Sun Winds on campus. And we have multiple people with the same name on campus, so it's really important you make sure you have the right one because it can get very confusing. So People Finder is beautiful, and it allows you to do that and to make sure that you have that, and then you've got all the information for you. So use People Finder, and you are all inputted into the configuration screen that allows your email to do it. If it doesn't work for one of you, let me know. It just means there was a typo in entering your name, which I literally found when I was making the one change that you asked me. It was fine. I don't know what it was. Because I have no idea. And then add another. You saw that, right? So oftentimes you're going to have more than one person. ACs. What about them including witnesses or including?
What about non-Gustavus students?
Oh, non-Gustavus students, do the best you can in there. Fill in what you can, and then it's just going to show up with missing information, and that's okay. We'll deal with that.
So when a student, can you click on the role, select role?
Yes. Okay, let's go back and say that we are going to pick Jacob. I'm going to select it. Okay. You're still going to have to select a role.
So alleged means that this is a person who is committing the policy violation.
Or we think so.
Or we think they are.
Right. They're alleged.
Victim you would only use if someone like comes to you because like Danny was hitting me.
Or somebody came into my room, and I don't know who it was, or somebody vandalized something in my room, I don't know who it is, right?
Witness you should only use if there is a true witness. So like someone is there who observed the whole thing, but is not involved at all. So maybe like someone comes to you and says, hey, there are people drinking on 3rd floor in Sorry, and they walk up with you. Now typically you would say like, I got it from here, you can go to your room. But let's say they like stick around for the whole thing, they're not listening to you, they would be a witness.
Or there was a fight, you were on duty in between 2 buildings and there was a fight and there were some other students that witnessed that fight happening. We probably want their names because we're going to want to talk to them. Yeah.
A student of concern is a non-policy violation. So this is like, this student just told me some concerning things and I need to report it to someone. Your ACs will talk to you more about those later on.
Perfect. Abby, did you have anything you need to add?
Do not add yourself as witnesses. We do not need, because what happens if you do that is it attaches to your name as a case you're involved in, and as a CF, you then might have 5 cases that you weren't really involved in.
Yeah, they have to edit you out of it
Yes.
and stuff. And
So you do not need to add your name as a witness.
Thank you.
If someone asks for medical amnesty, would that change if they're alleged at all?
They're still alleged.
Yeah, you can still put them alleged, and then the ACs will sort it out. That's a good question. Yep.
If a witness wants to be anonymous, what do we do there?
I think you would have to make, you're probably going to know who they are, right? And then you could put that in your incident description. There was a witness that asked not to be identified, in which case your AC would follow up with you if they needed that information from that witness. And then, you know, in some cases they would have to reach back out, but it doesn't happen very often. We don't use witnesses all that often for anything, because usually things are so well documented by you and campus safety and whatever.
But since this is confidential, would that be a problem to list them since it only sits?
No, but you'd wanna indicate to your AC or something that this person didn't want to be followed up with or connected to the case, otherwise they wouldn't know and they might reach out. They want more information. Yeah,
When do you select intervention?
oh, did that come up as one?
Yeah, it's the bottom one, but,
You wouldn't, you really wouldn't.
You don't.
oh, okay.
Yeah, when we fill out this, do you guys want us to like clean Beyonce and?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they will not be in the people finder. So you just have to type their stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Wait, Charlie Potts, Mark?
Yes, there will be, the Maxine video is also on Google.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank
you.
Because we want you to get good at this, so watch it next time you do, right? Alright, incident description, that's where you saw, that's where your narrative goes, that's where your big bulk of information goes with all of the tips and tricks that we've given you. Supporting documentation, you don't often have this, but once in a while you might have photos. If there was vandalism, for example, if there was, I don't know, something else, then you might have taken photos. If you're on a brake check, I think you guys are still hoping to do this. So if you're doing brake checks and you find evidence of a pet, or you find candles or whatever, or you find a drawer that's a little bit open and there's something in there that's problematic, you would snap a picture of that and upload it. And we like that because then it allows the student not to say, that wasn't mine, that wasn't there, because they removed it. Back to whatever we have a photo of it. Yeah.
In the case where somebody does indicate medical amnesty,
Yeah.
would we just like start the report off with like received a phone call requesting medical amnesty and then continue the report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, please do that, can you do that for us?
I think this was said, but I like to explicitly say it. I always start the report off saying on Tuesday night, September 17th at 2 p.m. or whatever. So start with date, time, and place.
Perfect. And then at the bottom, please submit. If you don't submit, they're not going anywhere. And it's routed immediately, basically, once you do that.
But also, the ACs aren't reading emails at like 2 a.m. in the morning,
Right.
so we don't read it immediately.
Right. We'll all see it, when we get in office the next morning. And if it's something urgent, then you have other protocols that you need to follow to make sure that your AC knows about.
Does it reach both of you at the same time, or does it get temporary first?
No, all at the same time. So thank you again for all the hard and wonderful work that you're going to do in helping our students be the best Justies they can be and keeping our community safe.
Amen.